What up? Welcome back to another episode of the Rip City Pod. I'm Eric Anderson. I'm your host, and I am a writer at Heavy.com, focusing on the NBA and NFL and, all big sports stories. We've got a pretty big podcast lined up for you today. It's the biggest one we've had. It's, this guest doesn't really need much of an introduction, but we're going to try and do our best here anyway. So if you grew up in and consuming 90s basketball, you already know this guy's name. He's a 4-time NBA champion. He was an enforcer, and he popularized the goggles. I'm talking, of course, about Horace Grant. The goggles, the boards, the defense. He's a cornerstone of those first 90s Bulls championships, the first three-peat. He played a huge part in and helped launch that era that we really think about when we think of 90s NBA basketball. Obviously, he's a key piece for Orlando, an Orlando team that went to the finals as well. And he was also on that 2001 Lakers title team. So he's got a hand in a lot of really successful NBA teams in multiple decades. So we had a chance to pre-tape a little Q&A with Horace, who's taking a new venture into 2026 with him. He's launching a brand new TV series called Legends in Session with Horace Grant. It's a show built around real conversations with the same people who helped shape the game. He's going to talk to his friends, rivals, teammates. Some of the names he's thrown around are names like Scottie Pippen, Gary Payton, Penny Hardaway, Charles Oakley, and much, much more. So each episode too, I think this is kind of a cool part and pretty unique, is it's going to be set up like a pregame, or like an NBA game, I should say, which will feature a pregame, tip-off, 4 quarters, halftime, and a postgame. So that's a pretty cool format. It'll be much more than just former athletes sitting on a couch talking. It'll be, it'll have some structure, some substance, and it sounds like it's going to have quite a bit of flavor to it. And it's not just nostalgia. The show will also have a proactive giving back component tied into every episode. So Grant and his guests will use memorabilia as an auctions and an ensuing auction to support charitable causes. So it's got some heart behind some of the highlights that'll come out of it. So the series obviously is set to be filmed in Chicago. We talked a little bit about that. There'll be more on that in the Q&A section of our interview, but it's expected to premiere mid-2026 across Urban Grind TV's cable and streaming platforms. So we're going to jump over into our interview with Horace and allow people to get a little better understanding of what fans can expect, hear about some of the guests that Horace is excited to sit down with, and some of the stories that he's just got ready to queue up for that upcoming season. Obviously, we took some time to talk to Horace a little bit about the modern NBA, and obviously we're a Portland Trailblazers podcast. He talks a little bit about his nephew Jerami Grant. You maybe have heard of him. So you get a little bit of insight from Horace on Jerami's season, how Jerami's doing. Jerami's carving his own path in the NBA. So without any more intro, let's just jump over into it. Horace.
Eric.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm glad we could find some time today.
Awesome.
I think you have a wonderful, is that a homage NBA Jam shirt?
Yes, way back in the day.
I love that. Love that. Love that company. They do some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds like a really cool show concept, and it sounds like you guys are trying to do some pretty lofty stuff with the donation side of it, the guest angle, just bringing a lot of things together. So I want to start by talking about that a little bit, kind of from a logistical standpoint. So what will episodes drop in like a weekly format, or are you going to do batches? And if people are trying to watch this thing outside of Chicago, how do they find it?
You go to legendsinsession.com.
Okay.
And yeah, you go there. But it's going to be not in bunches. It's going to be episodes after episodes. You know,
Okay.
just the the journey of my guests journey from childhood, adolescent, college, and the journey in their respected sports.
Okay, very nice. Will there be an audio version, like a strictly just like a podcast style feed for them, or is it going to be strictly video?
It's going to be both.
Okay.
Going to be both. So, if some people are not able to watch, they can listen.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so I think you just alluded to it a little bit, but I'll just ask straight up. So a part of the formatting that I understood was it's gonna unfurl like an NBA game. So what's a pregame versus a fourth quarter question in your mind, and what goes into each of those sections that are going to be in each episode?
Well, you say the pregame.
Yeah.
The pregame would be like, I say a question would be, what are you doing now? And the fourth quarter would be something of the fact of, are you involved in any charities? Yeah, that's going to be that fourth quarter. And post game is, basically let's have some fun with rapid questions.
I love that. Big fan of those. So
Yeah.
looking forward to that. So let's say let's jump into the future a little bit, and we've done a few episodes. Is there going to be like a moment that you really want fans to quote every week? Maybe it's that rapid fire mode, but if there was something that people had that they took with them each episode, what would you be expecting fans to really latch onto?
The unique journeys of each and every one of my guests. Because, I got Charles Oakley, I got my brother coming on, and I got Vernon Maxwell as the first three. And they're unique in their own ways. Charles Oakley being my mentor there in Chicago when he was there. I wasn't able to pick his mind about a lot of things, on and off the court. My brother Harvey, we're going to reminisce about growing up in a little small town in Georgia, to our careers in the NBA. And and I know Vernon Maxwell well also, but I want the fans and the audience to get to know that Mad Max side.
Yeah. I think I saw him on was All the Smoke he did recently.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So kind of, I'm not trying to get you to give too much away here, but what do you think that actual Hall of Legends moment is going to look like? And if there's some writing component to it, who wrote that out?
Well, not too much into it until we get on air.
Right.
I think it's just it's just something that I wanted, and my crew behind the scene wanted to give something back to these guys in terms of, you got the Hall of Fame, and you got the Ring of Honor. Why not this?
Yeah. Love it. Is there, I don't know if we need to plug anything, but with the auction side of it, how do you make sure that gets done the right way? Some of that auction and sports memorabilia world can get kind of messy these days. So how do you make sure you guys do it right?
Well, I got a great crew, man. I mean, a great crew, and they're going to handle all that. They're going to make sure that what we sign on my show, that particular item or those items will be auctioned off, and the money, every cent of it, will go back to my guest charity of their choosing.
Okay, very good. And maybe we can't give this away either, but I will ask, and you can say no. Is there a cause that's been close to your heart that ties into the finale jersey? And if you can talk a little bit about it, what made you choose it?
Man, during my career, my 17 year career in basketball, I worked with a ton of nonprofits and charity organization. But I just say one what was very dear to my heart was the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So that was very dear. It's still dear to me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Great. Let's see. So we talked a little bit about guests, but sometimes the logistical side of wrangling guests for shows like this can be a bear. So were there any guests you needed to personally call? And what you have to say?
Well, I personally called all of them.
That'll
and
work.
some I had to beg, and some just respectfully said, "Yeah, I got you. I'm coming on." And then I would have had my executive producers to give them a call and set everything up because they do all of that behind the scenes stuff.
Yes. Okay. Very good. One of the types of guests that was mentioned in the release was arrivals. So are we seeing when we say rivals, are we talking about rivals from a particular season? Are we talking about rivals in business, post careers? What are we talking about?
Rivals, I say in basketball world. Just like like a Dennis Rodman or a Charles Oakley. I consider a rival, but a friend at the same time.
Okay, understood. I think I have a sense of this, but I will just ask you straight up. So are you going for, what kind of vibe are you going for? Are you going for like the funny side, the emotional side, or you want to be telling the truth first? Or what's the most important thing for to come across in that post editing world?
I mean, all the above. To answer your question, it's going to be very transparent. It's going to be funny. And it's going to be heartfelt. But it's going to be just looking through my guesses lenses how they got into their respectable sports. It's not just going to be basketball. It's going to be some baseball, hopefully wrestling, things of that nature, or even like celebrities, and all around the country. But it's going to be, I'm gonna make sure it's clear that it's not going to be any beefing, if you will, on my show. It's just going to be Journey talking about the 80s and 90s basketball compared to basketball of this day and so forth in baseball or even in football.
Okay, great. And so I think from what else I understood from the release that this is going to be in Chicago specifically. So why Chicago now, and what does Chicago represent to you in your story right now?
Well, why Chicago? I mean, when you help win the first three championships, we have roots there. And from day one until this particular day, I just received just the love and the respect from the city of Chicago and all its fans and people there. And plus, I mean, when you think about Chicago, you think about, legends who've come out of the city of Chicago. So, I'm gonna be reaching out to a lot of the legends who grew up there, who played in the NBA and in college.
Very nice. I think in the release I also read that you called it a movement. So I want to ask, what would you say after your first season, having done when you complete your first season, what would make you say like we really changed something or we really accomplished that movement?
Well, once we, God willing, once we complete the first season, is very successful with that, which I think it will be. I think the fans going to know my platform in terms of having my guests on and my guests being openly transparent with their journey, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad. So I think that keys it up.
Okay. Okay, those were the questions I had for the show specifically. So I'm curious if we can go into some just NBA general stuff, some 90s stuff maybe. I mean, we don't have a ton of time, but maybe a few minutes on that.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, great. I also do a Portland Trailblazers podcast, so I'd be remiss not to ask you about Jerami and some of your thoughts on him and how he's doing and those kind of things.
Yes.
So I'll try to speed through this so we can get to a few things here. But I guess let's go with some Bulls dynasty stuff. And just this is pretty general. So what do you think is the most misunderstood thing about that first three-peat that modern fans won't understand?
I don't think the modern fan will understand how difficult it is to win your first one, and then you have to compete for your second one and your third one. All the work as a team collectively that we had to put into it, and being mentally tough in terms of getting your head smashed in by the Pistons for 3 years in a row, and then the physicality and the mental aspect of uh, uh, repeating 3 times.
Yeah, yeah. If there was one myth from that era, or if you think a myth currently exists, what would you correct about it? You don't need to name names about anything, but is there a myth that kind of lingers around that first three-peat that you can correct?
I think it would be that the myth of it wasn't that much talent out there in the '90s. You mean to tell me Clyde Drexler wasn't talent? Magic
Right.
Johnson wasn't talented, or Charles Barkley. I think the modern era forget how physical and how physical and the mental state that we had to overcome back then.
Yeah. I want to ask a practice question. Who was the tone setter in practice and when it got tense, and what did that look like?
One of the best leaders I ever played with, he set the tone. That was Michael Jordan, MJ. He set the tone of every practice, and the tone was so intense we couldn't wait for the games. And you have to give credit to Phil Jackson. He kept the intensity up. He would put MJ on the second team, or he would put me and Scotty on the second team and leave MJ. It was just so competitive. We couldn't wait for the games.
Did it ever get to the point where it was too competitive? Was there that boiling point where we had to take a step back and kind of cool heads a little bit?
Always, it was always there. But we knew our goal, and our goal was to destroy our opponent, to win games and win championships. All of that intensity, stayed there on the court.
Very cool. I think you've talked a little bit about The Last Dance in the past. I don't know if we have to rehash anything. Maybe there was one headline that said you wanted to have a conversation with MJ. Did that happen?
No, it didn't happen. And I guess I don't want to speak for my other teammates, but I understand that, where MJ was coming from on a lot of that Last Dance, but It was entertaining. But we still have so much respect for each other, and I'm pretty sure he have respect for us as a team. So, it is what it was.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe this ties into that last question a little bit, and maybe you've already answered a little bit too, but is there one more Bulls teammate you think deserved more respect? Not necessarily strictly from The Last Dance, but just in general, from that era and that era storytelling.
Man, God, it's so many. I mean, if I have to choose one guy, I would say um, I don't think he got his respect and his due with B.J. Armstrong. Um, I mean, he was a solid killer out there on the floor. I mean, I mean, you can say BJ. I can say BJ or John Paxson or even Craig Hodges. I'm going with the shooters.
Yeah, a lot of shooters, a lot of
Yeah,
undersized, maybe not undersized, but the smaller guards.
yeah. Those three guys right there. I really wish they had gotten their due in terms of their contributions to us winning those championships.
Very cool. Yeah, I agree. The things I have learned about them, I was growing up in the 90s, so I was watching it from a kid's lens, and now as an adult, I've gone back and learned as much as I could. But it always seems like those stories are pretty fascinating when you learn more about what drove those guys and what they did and the things. I mean, they played huge roles, so you learn a little bit about them. And yeah, I think I'd agree with you. I think they probably do deserve to have a little more shine. Okay, well, we're at about 20 minutes here. How are you doing?
Very good.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna fire off a few more then, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, great. Can we talk about the goggles? They're kind of a viral thing for you, and that was kind of before people knew what virality was and what looks were. And I mean, maybe you kind of knew a little bit about it, but did you realize that while that was happening, that those are kind of a bigger than basketball story? And what did it mean to you?
Well, I didn't expect the goggles to take off like it did. I was just worried about my eyesight. But once, quote unquote, Horace Grant made it cool to wear goggles, I guess kids and grandkids wasn't getting bullied anymore in their school because I made them cool. So I used to have grandparents and parents come up to me and say, thank you for wearing the goggles, and you made it cool, and my grandkids or my son or daughter, like to wear them now.
That's wonderful. I guess modernizing that. So if a kid today were self-conscious and they needed some more encouragement, what would you say to that? I mean, you've lived it already, obviously, but what else would you say to a modern kid?
if you need goggles, wear them. I mean, maybe you can do the same thing as Horace Grant did to and make them special. Be your own person. Be your own person in terms of make them cool, but you just want to protect yourself. That's all.
Very nice. Thank you. We'll do maybe one modern question because I think it sounds like your show's going to hit on a lot of these things. So I don't want to like get you repeating stuff or, giving anything away, but what's a part of today's game that you love? And what's a part that drives you crazy?
The part that I love to see, all the skills of these big guys now. I mean, you have Wemby, 7'5" with handles, shooting threes, and you got Shea, just a great talent. I love the talent out there now. The con is I wish it can get just a little more physical, just a little more hand checking. I mean, every time I look up, somebody's at the free throw line, or they're going to review a slap on the wrist like that.
Yeah.
So, uh, Overall, I still think that the NBA is in a great position with all of these young players.
Yeah. Oftentimes we do hear the international game is more physical. So maybe in the FIBA versus NBA conversation, do you prefer the FIBA brand of basketball?
Oh yeah, I love the NBA, but the FIBA in terms of knocking the ball off the rim and a lot more physicality, I would love to see that. Yeah.
Okay, so you're tuning in when the Olympics are on, you're tuning in. Do you watch any of like the European stuff or like, like that middle of summer basketball when the NBA finals are wrapped up? Do you pay attention to that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. And one of my nephews is over in Greece right now. Darren is playing over there in Athens. So yeah, as much as I
Okay.
can. Yeah.
Okay, so you're dialed into that. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well that gets us over into that's a good segue into talking about Jerami a little bit. So I want to ask Uncle Horace this question. If there's one thing that maybe fans, and maybe not specifically Blazers fans, but NBA fans in general, don't notice about Jerami, what is it that he does that veterans would love, or what is it that a more sophisticated fan would really love about Jerami, from your perspective?
As a basketball player,
Yeah, well, both, yeah, and in life too. I know he does a lot of interesting stuff off the court, and I'm somewhat familiar with it. I'm in tune, but yeah, you tell us.
well, I think a lot of fans don't know. I mean, they see his demeanor on the court, and he doesn't really get upset a lot. But hey, you push the right button, hey, he will get. He will let you know his mind. I just put it that way. Um, um, he's not, like, you see these guys, talk tough and stuff like that. That's not him. That's, you know, and he's one of the most sound, greatest human beings. I'm not just saying that he's because he's my nephew, but one of the greatest human beings that you could ever want to meet. But some of his fashion now is, I'm like, man, I could never pull that off. He looks great.
He does it. Yeah, I mean, I can't either, but he does it.
Yes.
What part of his game feels the most like Grant family? If you guys had your own style, what's the most Grant thing he does?
It's two parts to this, Eric. He gets his scoring from my brother because when my brother was with the Bullets/Wizards, he was averaging almost 20 points over there a couple of seasons. And he gets that from him. And his defense, he gets from his uncle. Yeah. So it's two parts.
And he's had pretty elite seasons in both those things. I think we've seen the Nugget seasons where he was a really prized defensive piece, and then we've seen the offense develop. So it's kind of, I guess he's kind of had both of those influences play out through his career. Now it's a pretty balanced mix. It's pretty great to watch. And I think Blazers fans have really enjoyed it. I think we talked about this a little bit, but I'll ask it this way because it might unlock another tidbit that you want to share. So give Blazers one reason to believe in Jerami as a culture piece, not just the scorer, not just the defender. Well, why is he a good part of the culture?
Um, First of all, he's going to give you, the old cliche, 100% when he's out there on the floor. And off the floor, like I said, a great human being. He does stuff in the community. A great family man. Um, Man, if you want to say, if you put his picture up in that arena there in Portland, um, it would say great basketball player, but a better person.
Very nice. I got one more on it, and you might have already answered it. So if it sounds too familiar, we can pass. But if you had to describe Jerami's best NBA role in one sentence, what is it?
His role in one sentence, I would say the best employee.
Very
best
nice.
employee.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with that already. Okay, well that's about my questions. Horace, I really appreciate all the time here.
All right, we just want to thank Horace Grant again for giving us some time, providing us some insight into big stories in the NBA, his own future ventures coming up, and just being a really great person at his core. So thanks, Horace. Looking forward to the upcoming TV show, and hope to talk soon. And that'll wrap up another episode of the Rip City Pod. Take care.